It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160, and we're glad you're with us here today, and we're very, very happy this morning to talk to Bob Santos. The book is called The Search for Rest, 50 Days to a More Peaceful Life. Been a while since we've talked to Bob, and it's good to have you back. Hi, Bob.
Todd, great to talk to you today.
Yeah, and you. So you've come up with this book, The Search for Rest, 50 Days to a More Peaceful Life. I guess it's one of those, here's the bad news, but here's the good news types of book. Because, it's very easy to look at the world all around us and say, shoo, this is a nasty place to be right now, and we just want respite from it all. And you offer that with this book.
Yes, absolutely. And, especially today, you just look at all that's happening in our nation and our world. It's a time of unrest. And so we desperately need, a fresh understanding of peace and how to live in peace.
So take me back to your decision to put this all together and form it into something as wonderful as this.
Well, that's kind of a loaded question because it was a project that was pretty much 20 years in the making. I actually started the book about 20 years ago, and I just had so much trouble actually living the principles that I put in the filing cabinet, and just decided I was going to wait. And so I did all of the other books I had planned. I wrote all of them, and then I came to the end of my list and said, well, I guess I got to write this one now. So that's kind of how it came to be.
Well, that's interesting because, that really, you're symptomatic of why you need something like this, why you need to find your rest. And it took you a little bit more than 50 days to find it.
Yeah, it really did. But it has been a rich process. And I can't say that, I've come to this place of perfection. And really that's not the goal. I still have times when I'm unsettled and anxious. But as a whole, my life has really changed over the past 20 years, and so I'm glad that I didn't write it back then. I'm glad that it took that long for me to finally get it in print.
Well, I think maybe one of the ways to start this conversation, though, even though we've been going for a couple of minutes, is to key in on one particular part of that subtitle, A More Peaceful Life. I think sometimes we are so determined that I'm going to fight for peace. And we really do struggle to find our best, most peaceful life possible when maybe it's something we could do a little bit at a time.
Yeah, and I think part of the struggle is a struggle for perfection. That we put this burden on ourselves, and society puts this burden on us that whatever we do, we have to do perfectly. And I think that actually makes the problem worse. Mm-hmm.
You have the website Search For Me Ministries, and I'm sure folks can learn more about the book there.
Yes.
Search For Me Ministries, is it .org?
If they just go to sfme.org, it pretty much has everything. Mm-hmm. Search For Me, sfme.org.
So when you do your books, and I'm sure this one is the same way, I've not been able to get into it just yet, but when you do your books, there's so much of it that is informed by your life right here around Indiana and the people that you meet and interact with. Tell me about the local flavor of this.
Well, the local flavor for me is just so rich. The relationships, the people that I've grown to know and love. We've been in this community I came to school at IUP in 78 and just never left. And I love the community. I love the people. And for me, a lot of it is relating to the churches and the pastors and just being connected with some great folks that have helped me to stay grounded and helped me to grow in my life and in my faith.
When you decided, okay, it's time for me to do this book, The Search for Rest, and you began to put it together, what was the structure that you were looking for?
What I try to do is take concepts that are deep and sometimes difficult to understand and break them down in a way that is understandable. I want to present it so that people can see the clarity of it and present it in bite-sized chunks. So that was why I did a 50-day devotional, because the thoughts that people will encounter in the book are thoughts that will linger, and they'll kind of mull over them and think about them, and that was very intentional. What I didn't want is something where people just read right through it and then they're done with it.
The interesting thing to me is if people are going to get this book right about now, then it is going to take them right into the Lenten season, and people at that time of the year really look to not only subtract from their lives those negative things that are going on, but you can't just leave that hole there. You have to fill it with something positive. This is a real good step.
Yeah, I think you absolutely do need to fill it. And I think that one of the struggles that we have as a society today is that we have a crisis of mistrust, where we just don't know who to trust. And that leads to a crisis of uncertainty, where we're just not sure about things, the economy, the future. There's just so many questions. And so in order to find peace, we really need to come to a place of certainty, not certainty so much in our opinions, but certainty in the reality of God and his goodness in our world.
We are so predisposed, I think, to unrest and to instability. And when we have that shaky understanding of the trustworthiness of people in our lives, that can really crumble out from underneath us. But one of the points that you make in the book is that it's not a hopeless situation. As bad as it might be on a global scale right now, and it is very, very bad, it's by no means hopeless. And that also applies to individuals. No matter what your situation is, there is still hope for you to become that rested, peaceful person.
Oh, absolutely. I think that, for me, I can talk about, my personal experience. This is written from a Christian perspective, and so I'm not slamming anybody else's beliefs that disagree with me or anything like that. But what I'm saying is that from my experience, I've come from a place of anxiousness and fearfulness as a way of life, and I've discovered a certain certainty that comes from knowing God and his goodness, and that has had a huge influence on my life. So, even as I look at the chaos around me, and I'm not denying it or ignoring it, I can still be mostly at peace, knowing that there's a stability and a certainty in my life.
Bob Santos is with us. The book is called The Search for Rest, 50 Days to a More Peaceful Life. You do make the point that God really knew what you would be going through today. He knows what you're going to be going through tomorrow, and God therefore has seen the possibilities of stress entering your life, and he has a way for you to not only avoid that stress, but to really embrace the situation around you and to make it a part of your peace formula.
Definitely the case. I mean, if you go into the Bible, the book of Genesis, the seventh day of creation, it said that God rested, and I know he didn't rest because he was tired. He rested because he was modeling something for us, because he knew our need that would be there even before the need arose. So there's something really powerful in that.
Absolutely. So as we get into the devotional and through the devotional, what are some of the steps that we can look forward to, sort of the mileposts along the way, to know that we're making the progress that is out there for each and every one of us?
Can you be a little more clear or a little enunciate a little bit more about that, what you're thinking?
Well, I was just wondering about, as we make those steps through the book and through the devotional, mm-hmm. and we look for those mileposts along the way to say, okay, this works for me. This is something that is going to help me. What are some of those mileposts?
Kind of how it manifests in our lives. I think for me, I just look at my life, and I have certain routines or certain cycles of life, and this is really tied to the whole concept of rest, where, maybe once a year you would do a certain thing, or maybe take a personal time away or retreat and reflect and those types of things. And you begin to, at least I look at them and I think about how I processed these situations a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago. And I can see the difference now. I can see that I'm, maybe sleeping better, or I'm more at peace, or I'm less bothered by things as they come along. So it's kind of a process that it's incremental growth, that you don't necessarily see it happening all at once. But if you take time every now and again to stop and reflect, then it becomes more visible.
God has a plan for your restfulness. The Search for Rest, 50 Days to a More Peaceful Life. Bob Santos has been with us this morning. Bob, how do people get their hands on this book?
Well, it's online through, the regular channels, but locally, if they're interested, the Book Nook has just been wonderful to carry all my books. And then also Smicksburg Furniture has several of them.
Oh, okay. There you go. There you go. And I'm sure that if they just go to the website, sfme.org, they can find the link to get it online as well. Bob Santos,
yeah.
Thanks for being with us today.
Todd, thanks so much for helping me. And I just want to echo what you were saying about the message of hope. I think that a lot of people it's very easy to begin to feel hopeless, like they're kind of beyond cure, they're never going to be able to change, they're never going to be able to find peace and rest in their lives. And I think that really is a lie. I think that we need to understand that there is that potential for us to come into that rest if we're willing to look honestly at our lives and make some changes.
Absolutely. Bob, thanks so much. Have a wonderful day today.
You too. Thank you so much, Todd.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
There's Bob Santos.
Bye.
There's Bob Santos.